What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Backliners podcast. Aggro and Barracuda, as per usual. Pretty exciting week of Smite games. Unfortunately, I will let you all know that this will probably be a shorter podcast episode. I am finally feeling better from being sick, but I am in the middle of changing ADHD medication, and my brain is getting absolutely crushed, and I'm getting a lot of physical symptoms from changing medicine, which is no fun. So we're gonna do our best because we really didn't want to skip this week.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. You know, what else could you possibly ask for? But yeah, take your already low expectations
And lower them.
Maybe 2
or
to 4.
raise them.
You could raise them if you don't want them to be met.
Yeah,
That's up to you.
Yeah, my issue's not as big as Aggro's, but I had some lunch today, and I have been pooping my brains out since then. So,
welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Yeah,
It's gonna be that's gonna be the type of episode we've got going on.
My tummy hurts.
My tummy hurts. I feel that. Okay. Masters started this last week, and there were a ton of games. My God, I'm looking at this schedule page to remind myself of all of them, as I typically do, and there was a lot of Smite that got played.
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of it because we were either scrimming or prepping.
And here's the messed up thing, games. Barry. I did.
That is very messed
watch up. Almost all, not all. I'd say I watched 75% of the games.
Yeah,
which was a lot of them. And I'm not gonna remember any of them right now, unfortunately. But the early matches, I think, went generally the way that we expected. I guess Thursday, the biggest match was Hex Mambo up against the Valhalla Valkyries. That is Johnny's team, and Hex Mambo up against Sam for Soccer's team in the Valhalla Valkyries. And, obviously expected pretty big things from both of these teams. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're going to go match by match or anything like that, but certainly Hex Mambo are the story of the tournament.
They looked really good.
Potentially. They looked
Johnny especially.
Very good. Yeah. What did you see from Hex Mambo, in general, this tournament, I suppose?
I mean, a lot of just Johnny hard carrying, kind of regardless of the map state and what was going on. I mean, the first game that comes to mind is that Collie game where they die at level 2 in mid. Mm-hmm. I think it was against Snoopy.
Yeah, it was
Snoopy's
Glads.
Ishel.
Yep.
But I mean, also late game, I think that draft from top to bottom just struggles against Collie. Mm-hmm. And also, I think Snoopy is a little crazy for 10th picking Ishel into that comp.
He was kind of going off, though.
I just
feel
like eventually you get to a point where your character is literally useless against a Collie. You cannot peel yourself. You cannot live through the Collie. If the Collie wants you dead, you're going to die. And then I think they had a Shiva, Erlong, Marty. So all of those gods just literally get eaten alive by Collie.
Yes.
But I mean, they just looked really good top to bottom, macro-wise as well. I think that's something Johnny's teams have always been good at, is setting a slower pace of game, kind of like the Kings, where if you're playing them, you kind of feel like there's not many plays to make on the map, even though you want to be pressuring. It's okay, let's invade purple, and then it's okay, they've already dropped it. Okay, let's go for the next one. Then okay, they're trading blue this time, and it just feels like you're not able to actually get on the map and start making plays. And we saw that later in the tournament when they played against Warriors, which is probably one of the most aggressive teams we've ever seen. And it was a very low kill game for a vast majority of the game.
Yeah.
And if you're slowing down a team like Warriors, I think that is a very big statement.
Yeah. Obviously, Mambo, winning the qualification portion, so to speak, and then getting to that matchup against the Oni Warriors and having as close of a match as most of the SPL teams is really impressive. They could have won game one, if I remember correctly, but
Yeah, Spudio slightly misplayed the end, I think.
yeah,
I think he just should have always. I mean, it's so like hindsight to even talk
sure,
about it, but if he just stayed on the side and just kept autoing forward, and then they also grouped up for AOE autos, but uh, I mean, there's a point to talking about it, but also as a professional player, the amount of times that you practice a high intensity end is basically never.
right,
In scrims, most of the time when you're ending, the games are just a very clean end. You're just kind of walking and then you're just ending the game. Like they either
right,
like throw on like a Phoenix defense or throw somewhere else, and it's not really like a situation where a lot of minor things can win or lose you the game, and unfortunately that was just one of them. The Titan reset, and I think it was like one or two auto attacks that Spudio could have gotten off if the Titan didn't reset or if he just stood on the side. Yeah, I was still regardless very impressed with how Warriors played or Mamba played.
yeah. Mamba played great. Johnny obviously the star of the team, but Cozy or Kazi
Kha'Zix.
Kha'Zix, yeah, I forget it, how he prefers his name to be pronounced. Sorry about that. He played great. I think that he in that warrior his warrior set was his worst set. But that team's
Hard to look
undefeated.
good as a support versus Warriors.
Yeah, like that team's undefeated. So what you can't. It's really hard to hold that against him. I really felt like a lot of times when I was watching Mambo, that it was Kha'Zix and Johnny, and then three players who weren't making mistakes, but also weren't asked to do a lot. And that those two were kind of 2v5 in a pretty impressive way.
Yeah, which I feel like is a pretty good team comp overall of players, where you have two people that want the game to be played around them, or that are most likely going to be in the play that you're making, and then you have all the other facilitator style players that are just kind of there, following up on the plays that are being made. Because I feel like sometimes if you have too many people making plays, it's like, okay, which play do we want to go for, especially in a team fight? And their team fights just look very cohesive as well.
Yeah, it was hard not to be impressed with Hex Mambo. I think they played great. I do think that teams like that get a really big advantage from being SEC in a different region, in that their play style is unique, and I do think fairly exploitable with enough time to work against it. I think when you think back to last year's Hex Mambo team, which I think was pretty undeniably stronger than this iteration, and when you guys were getting set up to play them at Worlds, they had a great qualification run. Everyone was saying they were really good. The talk of the town was that they were going to upset you guys, and I felt like I was one of the few people being like, I'm pretty sure that they are going to get absolutely rolled. Because this strategy feels really exploitable to me, and you guys absolutely rolled them. And I don't think that they played significantly differently than that strategy at Worlds, but it got them to the quarterfinals at Worlds for a reason. Like, they are really good at it, and they will not mess up their strategy. You have to actively beat them, which is very rare for SEC teams. I feel like SEC teams beat themselves a lot of the time. That team
Agreed.
does not. And they will also beat you if you do nothing. So,
And also,
yeah.
I think the style of gods they want to draft are slightly different, because
Yeah, they don't have zeros in mid.
yeah, it's just different. It's the pacing is different, the style of gods they want to play, the style of game they want to play, and when you're an SPL team playing it's the same style a lot. Not to say like everyone's style is kind of like meshed together, but you kind of forget how to play against a team that's not on the top eight. And I think right now, I feel like there's not much difference mechanically between the top players anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I felt that way for a few years now. So I think if a meta is open to where you can have a individual game plan that suits your players and it works on the meta, I kind of feel like any team can be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in my opinion, is a very well designed, balanced meta, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun to watch. I thought the games were generally really, there were a lot of 2-0s, but I felt like the meta as a spectator was really solid. That
Hmm.
there were a lot of different styles being played. There were comebacks, there were snowballs. The pick variety was pretty solid. I think from a meta, not knowing what the meta is going to look like for a big tournament like this, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, it doesn't matter since we're out of the tournament now, but every team that we scrimmed was literally playing different things
Mm-hmm.
coming into this week. So you got a lot of different tastes and a lot of different styles of teams kind of exploring different picks. Like we were playing a lot of like hyper aggressive stuff, like mage ADCs with like assassin mids and exploring that style. That
Mm-hmm.
was kind of the majority of what we practiced. Honestly, was mage ADC and assassin mid. It was kind
Mm-hmm.
of like the very run it down style. A few other teams were kind of matching that, but I think we were doing really good with it until like the later part of the week where we scrimmed teams that were like able to slow it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk to me about your setup against the Hounds. Obviously, doesn't go your way, but how did
Hmm.
you feel like as that set was going?
Well, I felt very targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, their ban surprised us, or at least they surprised me. I didn't expect them to ban Oleron Umoja Afro,
Yeah.
which were kind of the key components of our comp that we were going for, and a lot of teams weren't even practicing Afro, so it was kind of surprising that they banned it. Same with Oleron, because we were the only team that we were scrimming that was playing Oleron,
Mm.
to like a lot of success. So once they banned those three, I was like, okay, we might need to like shift this up a little bit. And then game one, we played a more traditional style. We tried the Izanami, but unfortunately, there was a Hebo in the duo jungle for the first 15 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't really get anything going as a Izanami. I could just kind of like I listened to the calls of like Venator Scream saying he's in duo jungle, and I'm like, all right, I'm backing up. And like, as an Ami, that feels really bad to not be able to utilize your pressure for like shield camps or to like poke the enemy tower down or to play for purples. I was just constantly having to back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just an Izanami mid to late game in a non-crit meta, which kind of just feels bad. I
Mm-hmm.
went boomerang because they had a Hebo, so I was like trying to kill the Hebo, but it wasn't really ever working out. I don't think we really had a lot of team fights either game one. We were just kind of
Yep.
like passively getting more and more behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Oath had a really good performance on Hebo game one. So we lost game one, and then game two, they still banned the same stuff. So we were like, okay, let's just play the Soul this time, and play an assassin mid, and see if we can like semi-play our style, but like kind of a worse version of our style because Oleron seemed a lot better for pressure than Soul does.
Mm-hmm.
Soul's build just doesn't feel that great right now because you can't really ever kill frontline as a Soul right now. You can passively like poke each other down, which is why I was going Death Toll, because I was gonna go Death's Embrace late game or
Mm.
sell it. And you can't die to their front line, which if you're not dying to the front line right now in this meta, it's really good. We were finding out. So I was
Right.
basically playing to draw out the team fights against me and Ducky. Basically, it was like a 1v1 me and Ducky,
Right.
and then there was another 4v4 happening over here.
Sure.
So basically, I also thought that Terra and Ganesh were really good in the style that we were playing,
Mm-hmm.
and they got both supports. So that was really unfortunate for us because it's kind of like counters obviously full dive. Like Terra and Ganesh are really good into that.
Right.
Um, and then game two, it kind of felt like, well, we also didn't practice Haddix's Thor too much.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, like he can play it at an extremely high level, but I don't think we ever really picked it in scrims, but we wanted to try it just for like a full dive style comp with like double assassin, a Kuzenbo, and a Thor. Just something very aggressive, very divey. But obviously, when you're playing into a Ganesh, there's just it takes a lot to get a team fight going.
Right.
And kill like both backliners. And then when they picked the AMC, I was pretty confident that our dive could succeed, but I don't think we ever really had like the perfect dive opportunity or like the perfect team fight where enough of us stayed alive to get an objective or like really get a lot of control of the map. I think we had like a 2 or 3k lead if I remember correctly in game 2, or maybe that was game 1. But we couldn't transition it over into more of a lead because game 2 I just could never kill Ducky. I mean that's not really my job in the team fights to kill Ducky, but I just could never really like make a big enough dent. But yeah, it's kind of just our style of game didn't really work. Obviously, as well as it did in scrims, and on top of that, I think their bans were really good against us. Obviously, we didn't scrim them for a long time,
Sure.
going into the tournament, but just very unfortunate that they basically like perfectly banned us out. And then game 1, they also banned Shablanc, Cern. They picked Hachi and banned Ola, which were like a lot of my top ADCs for like pressure. So I had to kind of go down to the Izanami, but I didn't really mind because I think we were playing Ganesha at that game. So like obviously you just want your Ganesh to get through laning phase and get pressure on the map.
Right.
But we were winning the 2v2s, but it was just a 3v2 on that side of the map. Yeah. Overall, we also I don't think we had like the best individual performance across the board. And yeah, it was just kind of unfortunate timing. Unfortunate that our meta didn't work out, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's how it goes, in that type of position for sure. Okay, before we move on to the next set, got to let you know about one of our newest sponsors to the show, which is, of course, Oakley. You get to express your style and be able to look that's made for you. They're changing the game, and it's time to discover a whole new world of possibilities, whether you run, golf, train, or just want to look like some of your favorite athletes like Lamar Jackson, Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones, or Justin Jefferson, or Mbappe. Then all you got to do is just get yourself a pair of Oakleys today. They're suited for everyday eyewear with frames and lenses allowing for an extension of self, an expression of your personality. There's much more than meets the eye. And here on this show, we are all about look good, play good. And that's why Oakley is the perfect partner for us. It's officially almost summer, which means you got to listen up and you have to upgrade your sunglass game now. Check out Oakley.com to get yourself a pair today. They offer something called Prism Lens technology, which is pretty sweet. And you might be asking yourself, what is that? Well, it's a proprietary technology to Oakley and available for everyday settings as well. If you want to know more, and I know you do, head on over to Oakley.com and do your own research on that. And while you're there, get yourself a pair of everyday glasses that'll be sure to change your look for the better. When you wear Oakley, there really is more than meets the eye. Don't trust me. Try it for yourself. I've worn a lot of sunglass brands in my life, and I can assure you Oakley is not only the best looking, but the best quality out there. So head on over to Oakley.com for more information today. Big shout outs to Oakley as always.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about a couple more teams. The Camelot Kings get 2-0'd and are immediately out of the tournament. The Jade Dragons beat them in 2 not stomps, but convincing, I would say, games. What were you surprised by this set? Because you and I have both been on the Jade Doomer train recently, but thought they looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the mid trio of dragons played way more cohesive and way better than they have the entire split.
Yep, 100% agree.
They looked so good. This was by far Darda's, Lass, and PBM's best individual performance and performance together. I think all 3 of them were hard carrying the entire time, basically. I think Kings were kind of like us, where they didn't have the perfect read on the meta, and like I don't think On Her is like that great right now. He seems kind of good in scrims, but you need like a lead. And I also think on her in team fights, sometimes you just do not have the on her team fight. Like
Yep.
you get your jump forced and you're just playing bad,
Hmm.
basically, and you're just forced into a bad spot. And I also think Dardes had really good picks. I think the Hell was really good. I think the Shablanc was really good. I think I like Lass's pick. I think he played Nim. I don't remember his other pick. Maybe it was like a
Alquang.
Circuit. Oh, Alquang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alquang's really good right now as well. It allows for the double hunter and mage in the jungle, which I think is really good right now
Yep.
in this on this patch. Um, yeah, I think across the board, I think they just played really good. Very cohesive. I think Kings did not have the greatest performance. I think Twig kind of got out jungled. Which I mean, Twig's been hard on himself anyways, and I think we've been hard on Twig as well.
Hmm.
I don't think it's Twig's best individual performance, unfortunately.
Hmm.
I also think the front line of Kings didn't have the tournament performance that they normally have between Genetics and Harry. I do think Genetics had like insanely good walls on Terra, like
Hmm.
prime time, like
Yeah, he had some
montage worthy
crazy
walls.
ones. Yeah.
But there was a few team fights being forced. I remember one at the very end where they tried to all in Dardes in mid off of like a Terra stun or like a Terra root and ended up losing the fight off of it. Not saying that's completely Genetics' fault, but normally their initiations go really good for them.
Hmm.
Yeah, overall, I think Dragons played insanely well, and I think Kings played a bit under where they are or were.
Yeah, I generally agree with all that. If the Dragons play like that, they can beat the
Hmm.
Warriors this weekend.
Oh yeah. Also, PVM's Atlas looked really good.
Yes.
We didn't see a lot of Atlas in scrims kind of the entire time, but his Atlas was clean.
Yep.
There was also I do think Kings were kind of trolling. There was one team fight where Yarkor just marinated in it. He just stood in the Atlas Loaded Fire Giant. I was like, he is like just stewing in it. Like he's just getting flushed.
Okay. What? Yeah, I know what you're thinking about right now. That's for sure.
I'm a little nauseous.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that. Yeah, overall very impressed with the Dragons. I would say on this, if 100% is the Kings played perfectly, but the Dragons still won, and 0% is the Dragons played so bad, but the Kings played worse and lost the set
Hmm.
by themselves. I would say it was 65%, maybe even 70% Dragons playing well, 30%
Yep,
Kings playing poorly,
I agree.
which is not, which is like, sounds more dramatic than it is, maybe. I don't know. It was impressive from the Dragons. Kings just didn't have a great set, and that's kind of the way it goes. I did not get a chance to watch the Leviathans Ferryman set. At all. I don't know if you did, but the Ferrymen beat the Leviathans 2-0, and it seems like, just based on the score lines here, that it was pretty, again, pretty convincing. 29 minutes, 11-3 in kills, and then 32 minutes, 13-8. So maybe this game 2 was a little bit closer, but it seemed like game 1 was pretty in hand there for the Ferrymen. Did you watch this set?
Did Baskin play Thor both games?
He played Thor game 1 and Thor game 2, so yes.
Yeah, I think his Thor is just a little diffy right now.
Yep.
I don't think you really be giving that guy Thor. I think Thor solo is cracked right now with
Yep.
the
I agree.
spikes, Glad Shield, Bluestone. I don't know if you have to go Bluestone or not.
Yep.
But that god just does so much damage to backliners right now.
Yep.
And I also think that the counter dive style of play that Aurora is playing as well is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Leviathans were playing that bad, but also funny to me, Steve tweeted a while back. He was like, "I'm one of the few ADCs that doesn't need pressure," and then you pick Soul
Yep.
both games. So
Yep.
I was having a nice chuckle to myself about that. But I don't think Steve is the biggest Soul player. I kind of think he was just playing it to like allow their team comp to function better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Steve's like the reason they lost or anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that Leviathans didn't have the normal tournament Leviathans that we expect. Unfortunately, I do think that team is still really good, but Ferrymen are just getting better as they mesh further together, and I think also this team at tournament time, they never really play like pressure. They just kind of play to like harass you on the objective or steal an objective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Aurora's Ganesh is like just clean. Like
Yep.
there was one team fight or there was one game where nothing happened for like 19 minutes.
Yep.
And then Aurora opened the team fight with a triple Ganesh ult. Oh yeah, I even made he got a triple Ganesh ult at Pyro. He got a triple Ganesh ult at Solo Phoenix, and then he got a triple Ganesh ult at Duo Phoenix. And when your supports initiating fights on both backliners with a Ganesh ult and hitting them every single team fight, your dive is so easy. It's so easy.
Kind of Jeff Hindla-esque on the Ganesh there.
Yeah, the Duo Phoenix, like he literally hit Zap on the left side, Shinto on the right side, and then Ronnie, I think, like top middle. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a GG for the team fight. Like that makes Thor's dive so easy. It also puts a lot of pressure on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their style of counter initiate and counter engage with a global, and then also I think Sino played like Rat and set, which both those gods are really annoying to play into.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cyclone played CERN both games, which obviously helps for objectives. You can CC frontline and ult frontline. So their comps and their style of play just works really well for them right now. It's also really good in the meta as well.
Yep. Okay, two more teams that I want to talk about. Number one, the Gilded Gladiators. They get 2-0'd by Hex Mambo. We talked a little bit about Snoopy's E-Shell pick. The game one, Gladiators just got stomped.
Game one was a Bobby diff. Game two was a draft diff.
Yeah, I have to say still that I think Bobby did obviously game one he basically sprinted it. Game two I think they were like 80+% to win. They were up by a lot. They come out of a fight and they start walking towards Gold Fury. I think it was like 20 minutes in. And it's the freest gold on Earth. Hawk had way overstayed to capture Beacon. He was like 20% health. And instead of going around the objective, Bobby starts a fight with Maui by hooking Johnny by green. And you can just see in the body language of the whole team, like they're grouping around gold, and then they all start to move that way. And they kill a few people, but it gets Johnny like a triple or something like that. And he goes from out of the game to in the game. I think he gets like a triple or a quad. They get left Phoenix off of it, and then they get to set up on fire, and then that's when Johnny pentakills them.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure if the Gladiators had just done gold instead of looking to fight in that moment, that they are like over 75% to win the game. But a really bad decision to fight there. It's a shame because I think Bobby has generally had a pretty solid year so far. But this set was really rough. Oh my god, this is exactly what I needed, Barra. Thank you. Little Hamlet cam. Look at that little guy. But yeah, particularly bad set for him. I thought Scary had a pretty rough set. I don't know. I mean, if you're the Gladiators at this point, in my opinion, you either are making some amount of change happen to your roster, or you are accepting that you aren't competing for a championship, which is not an evil thing, you know. That isn't a crime, but if the goal is to win Worlds, I don't think it is a reasonable expectation that you will be able to improve as a roster to the level that is necessary from this position, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's also hard as a team to go back over those games and talk about it because, like, game one, it's like Oh, well, I mean, we just got so far behind in duo. I remember Stu being like 5 levels down, like 9 to 14.
Yep, can't play.
Um, and that game is just not worth talking about if you're a team. Like, it's just,
Nope.
okay, our Savants got so far behind. They were Disco, Hachi, Maui, like, we just died in lane, that's cooked, and I'm Rama from behind.
Hmm.
And then game two, it's like, okay, well, if we just don't take that team fighter on gold and, like, we just play more cohesively. But then it's like, we picked that many gods that just died at Kali, and then they picked Kali, and then we have to play team fights so perfectly. We have to keep the Kali under control, and it's like, who can actually realistically do that? Like, a Shiva, an Erlong, a Marty, like an Ishel, like none of them can actually stop Kali from like coming into the team fight in a
Yep.
good way. So then that game feels like one of those games where you play against a healer, you make one mistake, and the game is completely blown out.
Yep.
And those kind of games just feel so bad to genuinely like talk about and just dissect as a team because you're like, what's even the point? It's like obviously it's like okay, Bobby obviously knows that starting a team like that is just bad, so there's no reason to like talk about it like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Um.
I do think they made some. I think someone made a tweet about like not practicing or something
Oh yeah,
before the
Bobby did
tournament.
say something about that. I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, they should do something. In my opinion,
Yeah.
if that's the goal. Okay, and then last but not least, the Eldritch Hounds. They advance into the final four. They will play against the Styx Ferrymen on Saturday. This team just continues to improve and impress. I thought I'm gonna say a sentence I never thought I'd say, which is that I thought Benny had the best build of any mage player that I saw this weekend. I cannot understand why so many mid laners were still going double flat pen. I feel like it does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Your build just need to be able to deal with these tanks that are on you. I think E-Staff is so insane right now.
Yeah, everybody loves E stuff right now.
I think you need E-Staff if you want to be doing the maximum damage to tanks, which is always what I want to build for as a backliner is maximum tank damage. I think you need Reaver, and in my opinion, if you have less than 30% pen on some gods is excusable. If you've got 20, you should get reported in a comp game, in my opinion. So if but 40 is preferable. So if you need 40 and you want E-Staff and you want Reaver, that means you cannot go double flat pen. It's just mathematically never going to work. And Benny's build of the I think he rushed coin a lot of the time. I think it was coin into Deso into I think he was going Obshard third on at least some gods. I think on Raw he was going Obshard third if I want to say. I'm trying to find the right game to figure it out. Also, I know that like apparently Deathwalker was memeing saying like everyone's like, oh, he's telling everyone that Ra is OP, and I remember hearing that and being like, yeah, Ra probably is really good in this meta. Like, I don't know why it was
Really hard
like
to kill.
a meme. Yeah, and he's got percent HP damage. He's hard to kill, and he uses all of these items pretty well. So yeah, it was Sans, Coin, Deso, E-Staff, Shard, and he goes Reaver 6th item. Perfect. It's all of the items that you need. Is your curve the smoothest in the world? No. But it's really good. If you're playing ranked, this is the build I would go. And if your god doesn't use this build, pick a god that does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Benny outside of builds was the saving grace of Hounds against Wargs.
Yep.
I think he made so many plays, which is why we ended up banning the Raw because he was the only reason they were winning against Wargs.
Yes.
And then we're like, okay, we can take Raw out, and then unfortunately the rest of their team played a lot better against us.
They did indeed.
which was Very unfortunate. And I mean, I don't want to like harp on the bracket or anything, but the bracket did feel weird for us.
Yes, I don't disagree.
Just kind of like coming in cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a big advantage to watch the team play before us. I won't doubt on that. But it would have been nice to have a warm game before that, or like a different tournament direction.
I do agree.
Again, not saying that's why we lost at all.
Sure.
We just did not play well.
Fair enough. Okay, there is a lot more I want to say, but I am fading fast here. Apologies. So let's we got to get towards the random question of the week. But before we do, we got to tell you about
something broiling. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Great. Here you go, Bird Dog. Here's an ad read for you. Barry feels something boiling, and he doesn't want to ruin his nice shorts that he got from Bird Dog. They make you look good. They've got stretch khaki shorts, Bird Dog that is, that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. How fast can you take them off if you have a bad lunch? That's what Barra needs to know. That's the selling point for him. They do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton that are difficult to get off in an emergency. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so that you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They also use here you go, Barry, anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. So when your tummy's a grumbling and you're getting the sweats, you can still keep cool and dry all night long. This is probably not the ad read they want, but this is the ad read.
It's exactly what I need.
Yeah, it's exactly what Barra needs, and that's the big thing. So if this sounds good to you, and I know it sounds good to Barra, go to birddogs.com/pool and enter promo code POOL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/pool, POOL, for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you, unless it's an emergency, in which case you will need to.
I got 5 minutes till we hit that.
Exactly. So real quick, random questions of the week. What's the date? Okay, yeah, these are some current ones. Percy wants to know one item or god state you choose to have back no matter how unhealthy for the game it would be, like Season 3 Gold Blade, Old Rod, etc. Zeus Stun. That's mine.
Let's see. Probably Kin Size with Lifesteal.
Ooh, I thought it was going to be Soul with Fatalis or Jingwei with Fatalis, but no, that's a good one too.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to play against those. That's the problem.
Yes, that's fair. Hiro says they were recently sucked into the D4 grind, Diablo 4 grind, excuse me, and finally took a good hefty break from it to the point where they forgot to ask a question yesterday. But luckily they're burnt out on it now, which is good because Hiro always has great questions. What video game and or other activity in the past or present time got you by the neck in a death grip to the point where it was arguably controlling your life in a negative way? Smite doesn't count. I've gotten addicted to so many games, dude. So many.
Dungeon Defenders. I was in college and I was playing Dungeon Defenders for 16 hours straight.
Oh.
And this wasn't during classes, by the way. It was on like winter break, and I was literally pushing my sleep schedule all the way around the clock. Because back then I could do that. Right now, that's not how it works.
A young lad.
And outside of that, I don't really remember anything affecting me in like a negative way. Because I feel like I'm pretty good about controlling when I get addicted to games.
Oh, that makes one of us. I can think of many times where I have not done things that I should be doing in order to play a game that I really want to play, or, do other activities like that. Remember the first time I played a Civ game? It was Civ 4. I downloaded it at night, and then I saw the sunrise before I knew that was going to happen. And I had to work the next day. That was an oopsie. No. I recently played a game called Wild Frost, I think. Is that what it's called? Wild Frost? Wild Heart?
think I remember you talking about this game.
Yeah, I was really addicted to it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Wild Frost. It's a lot like Slay the Spire, which is obviously a great game. I think I put in the first 72 hours I had Wild Frost. I think I put like 20 hours on it.
Jeez.
Couldn't put it down. So those are two. That's one from recent memory there. And then last but not least, Bataz. What is one anime you recommend to people when you try to get them into watching anime? Barry, you're not an anime guy, are you? Have you watched any anime?
I watched a lot of anime.
Oh, really?
I'm not the kind of guy that doesn't watch the big anime. I'll kind of just watch whatever animes are on Crunchyroll or RIP Funimation. I think they combined at this point. Anything that had like really good reviews. And I would just go like section by section and just kind of watch whatever has good reviews. But if you're getting into anime, I would say Demon Slayer.
Yep.
Outside of one character, I can't remember his name, but he's really annoying on
Zenitsu.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember if it's a sub or dub, but he is like unwatchable on one of those because he is just so annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know if people would want to watch My Hero if they're getting into anime because sometimes it's a little too anime-y.
Yeah, I think that one's too slow at the beginning in particular.
Yeah. One Punch Man is probably really good. It's just comic relief. I can't remember the soccer anime right now. It's
Blue Lock
something.
Blue Lock
that
and
one's
Bangs.
really good.
It's so good.
There was one that was like Might and Magic or Knights and Magic or something, and that one was really good. It only had one season. And then How to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon. I think that one's really good too.
I haven't seen that.
It's funny. I think that would be it for me if I'm recommending animes.
I think it depends on the type of person, because if it's a person who is aware of what anime is and is like, oh, anime is stupid, that changes what I would recommend. I mean, Attack on Titan is kind of a free one as one that is more serious and very exciting. I think Attack on Titan's a really good one. The only anime I've ever gotten my wife to watch, but she really liked, was Ranking of Kings. Highly recommend that one for someone who has never really enjoyed anime. It's a very different art style, but one that's really charming and really, really great character, story, all that kind of stuff. Ranking of Kings, 10 out of 10, would highly recommend. And then I would also say Vinland Saga is a good...
Oh, it was really good.
Is a good anime for someone's first anime, because again, it is a little bit more... I think that the Demon Slayer is great and is obviously visually incredible, but there are parts of a lot of anime, and Demon Slayer is certainly guilty of it, of the, the tropes and the they don't a big reason why my wife doesn't love anime is that she isn't a fan of the portrayal of a lot of women in anime, which I think is a very fair criticism. And for people just starting out, I think that can be a really big deterrent. So a lot of the popular anime do fall into that type of pitfall. So Ranking of Kings, Attack on Titan, and Vinland Saga are three that do not. Two of those being incredibly violent. One, Ranking of Kings is violent, but on a acceptable level, I would say. So those would be my three.
I think I would also throw in like Mob Psycho in there and Haikyuu. I think both those are really good too.
Yeah, those are good calls for sure. Okay, that's gonna do it for us. Excited to watch Masters this weekend. Apologies for the shorter episode. Bear and I are struggling over here.
Running out of here. So
yes.
Probably no post pod because I don't know how long I'm going to be. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I was just gonna post in there that we're calling that anyways. All right, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next week. Prediction stuff. Watch it, listen to it, read it. Oakley.com, birddog.com/pool. Barra, you know what to do.
Bye. Love you guys.
Nice. Okay, let's get
Thanks
it.
for watching.
We gotta live. We gotta live,
Bye,
dude.
bye, bye. I gotta poop. Bye, aggro. I love you. Bye.